Start பண்ணலாம் sir.
Okay. Good morning, friends. This is Ranganathan here, calling you from Tokyo. I'm very happy to present you the 39th team out of the 50 teams for the commemorating the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between Japan and India. Now, this is a big task that we took, that explaining about the events in Japan through stamps of Japan. I'm here because this year happens to be the 50th year since I first entered into Japan. I came to Japan as a trainee at the age of 28 in the year 1972. So this 50 years I came here to say thanks to the company which invited me, then ABK to AOTS, and meet my granddaughter who is here working after graduating from a Japanese university, and meet all my other students and friends. And I'm very happy that we are almost coming to the end of our program with another 11 more presentations to be made. And this is going to be a series of 7 themes, anniversary and events. The first one is anniversary and events from 1894 to 1959. You can see the Seto Ohashi Bridge in the night. This picture was taken by me. I went there on that day to take a picture when there'll be illumination on the bridge. Unfortunately, every Monday, they don't light up the bridge. So I missed the lighting up the bridge. But however, I got a beautiful picture of the bridge in the late evening with all the background of the islands at the back. And I took the picture from the Honshu with the boats crossing below the bridge. It's a very interesting place to watch the Seto Ohashi Bridge. Now, the first commemorative stamp to give you about an idea about the event was the Silver Jubilee of the Emperor Meiji and Emperor Shoken in 1894. Really valuable stamps. One is, there are 2 stamps. You can see the chrysanthemum at the center. And this is, first is color carmine, and the other one is the ultramarine. This stamp was issued in 1894, March 9th. And the stamps are of size 39 by 28 millimeters. And though I've said the color is carmine, the same is applicable to ultramarine stamp also. And it is printed in using typography. Not long after his coronation, Emperor Meiji married Ichijo Haruko, the daughter of an imperial official, and 3 years his senior, on January 11th, 1869. She became known posthumously as Emperor Shoken and was the first imperial consort to be granted the title of Gogo or Emperor's Consort. She was also the first imperial consort to have an active public role. The couple did not have any children. The commemorative stamp of the silver wedding was issued on March 9th, 1894. The 50th anniversary of the Postal Service was again as 2 stamps, which were released on 1921, April 28. The size is 30 by 26 millimeters, again a typography printing, and the comb perforation is 12.5. And they are just 1.5 cents and 4 cents of value. The old flag of Ministry of Postal Services was first used in 1871, officially adopted on the 23rd June 1884, and replaced with the current flag on 28 March 1887. The red hiragana character, the te of the tegami, meaning letter, on white field. That's what you see there. And the flag is still in use in Japan and hoisted on the Japanese post office throughout Japan. The Japanese flag is made of a red circle symbolizing the sun against a white background. It is known as the Hinamaru in Japanese, meaning circle of the sun. Japanese lies on the far west of Pacific Ocean, and the sun rises over the sea to the east. The 50th anniversary of the postal services was with a series of stamps. So if you see, there are two monocolor stamps, postal stamps. 1921, April 28th was the day when these stamps were released. They were 43 by 30 millimeters. One is in chocolate color, another one is deep blue, and they are commemorative and comb 13 to 13 and a half, processed by Reese's and Reese's printing, and the 3 Japanese yen and 10 Japanese yen. The stamp shows on the right hand side, if you see a postcard, the stamp shows the that building has been brought into the stamps. So therefore, the stamp shows the ministry building in and the statue of Baron Miyajima in front of the building. You can see Miyajima was a person who is considered as the father of Japanese Post, and he became the first communication bureau minister. Also, you can see the postcard, one first day postcard with the chocolate color stamp, and you can see the postman riding on a horse and trying to collect letters and deliver them. Silver anniversary of Emperor Yoshihito and Emperor Sadako. Emperor Taisho Emperor, 31st August 1879 to 21st December 1926, was the 123rd Emperor of Japan, according to the traditional order of succession. The second ruler of Japan from 30th July 1912 until his death in 1926. The emperor's personal name was Yoshihito. On 10th May 1900, Crown Prince Yoshihito married then the 15-year-old Kujo Sadako, daughter of the Prince Kujo Michitaka, the head of the 5 senior branches of Fujiwara clan. You can see the 4 beautiful stamps, all of them having the chrysanthemum symbol at the center. They were released in 1925, May 10th, and 36 by 30 millimeters. And they were printed by offset lithography. And there are 2 different, in 4 colors. One, the smaller stamps, you can see chocolate brown and the red. And also we have the orange, brown, and silver stamps. Then the 50th anniversary of Japan joining the Universal Postal Union. Issued in 1927, June 20th, 26 by 30 millimeters, are the 2 stamps with the picture of Miyajima, the father of Japanese Post. And below that is 2 stamps which are issued in 1927, June 20th, again of a bigger size, rectangular, 40 by 28 millimeter size, and one is red, other one is blue, and commemorative, comb 13 by 13 and a half, 16 Japanese and 10 Japanese yen. Japan membership to UPU, Universal Postal Union, in 1877 was the first success of the newly reopened country, had in replacing, repealing the numerous unequal treaties it had been compelled to sign with the Western powers, and in the 1850s, when forced from the centuries of self-imposed isolation during the Edo period. The 58th rebuilding of Ise Shrine, every 20 years, locals tear down the Ise Jingu, the grand shrine in the Mie prefecture, Japan, only to rebuild a new one. They have been doing this for about 1,300 years. The ceremony called Shinken Sengo is a large event that preparation take 8 years and 4 years alone to prepare timber. Locals take part in a parade to transport the prepared wood along with the white stones, 2 per person, which they place in the sacred spots around the shrine. In addition to reinvigorating the spiritual and community bonds, the tradition keeps Japanese artisan skills still alive. And we all know Japanese artisan skills got a name later on called the monozukuri when Japanese Prime Minister talked about it in the UN as itosukuri. So that's the background of Japanese artisan skills. There's a separate thing on monozukuri. The Sengo ceremony also plays a role as a device to preserve the foundation of the traditions that contribute to happiness of people's lives. Down below, you can see a photograph of the very typical Ise Shrine photograph, again released in 1929, October 2nd. Now, Meiji Shrine, Meiji Jingu, the 10th anniversary and dedication of the Meiji Shingu and the Jubilees is given by two beautiful monocolor stamps, green and orange. And the shrine is in Shibuya, Tokyo, that is dedicated to the defied spirits of Emperor Meiji and his wife, Empress Shoken. After the emperor's death in 1912, the Japanese Diet passed a resolution to commemorate his role in the Meiji restoration. An iris garden in the area of Tokyo, where Emperor Meiji and Emperor Shokan had known to visit, was chosen as the building's location. It was formally dedicated on November 3rd, 1920, completed in 1921, and its grounds officially finished in 1926. And the two stamps were released in 1930 on November 1st, 36 by 26, green and orange commemorative stamp, 1.5 cent and 3 cent. Then the 30th anniversary of administrations of Kwantung. Japan's first acquired Kwantung from the Qing Empire in that is in China in 1985 in the Treaty of Shimonoseki after victory in the first Sino-Japanese War, but lost it due to the tri-triple intervention, but reacquired from Russia in 1905. Kwantung was located at the military and economically signified southern tip of the Liaodong Peninsula at the entrance of the Bohai Sea and included the port city of Ryojin, Port Authority of Lushuko, and the Kwantung leased territory was leased territory of the Empire of Japan, the Liaodong Peninsula from 1905 to 1945 at the end of the World War II. It is known as Pacific War. The stamps are released on 1936, September 1st, 26 by 30 millimeters, and in 3 different colors, all monocolor stamps. And you can see the watermark on the side. The watermark was included in such stamps in the early days so that it can not be forged and sold as fakes to others. Then 75th anniversary of Japanese Red Cross. Senotsumin, Chusunemin, depicted in 4 cent, 20 cent stamp, is the founder of the Japanese Red Cross Society and is known as Henry Dunant of Japan. The printing colors are brown, green, red, and blue. Every denomination stamp depicts the Red Cross and the chrysanthemum flower coat of arms. And then you can see the stamps that were released and issued on 1939, November 15, commemorative stamps, 1.5 by 12.5 perforation and photogravure printing. You can see all these beautiful stamps, all monocolor stamps, and very interestingly, if we see this, the idea of the International Committee of the Red Cross all started when a Swiss man, Henry Dunant, traveled to Italy in 1859 and witnessed the Battle of Solferino. He then proposed to organize the National Voluntary Organization with the help of wounded soldiers in the case of war. This idea led to the foundation of the International Committee of the Red Cross to commemorate the 150th anniversary of this event. 2 stamps were released. Now you can see the 2 stamps, 80 stamps, and of course the picture of the father of the Red Cross, Japanese Red Cross, is shown here separately, and also the first day postal cover with the first day cancellation you can see on the left hand side. The stamps are 28 by 39 millimeters, commemorative stamps of 80 yens each. Okay, you can see them both. Then 2,600th year of Japanese imperial calendar. Japanese imperial year, of national calendar year is unique calendar system in Japan. It is based on the legendary foundation of Japan by the Emperor Jimmu in 1660 BC. Koki emphasizes the long history of the Japan and imperial dynasty. Koki dating was used as early as 1872, shortly after Japan adopted the Gregorian calendar system, and was popular during the title of the Life of Meiji Constitution in 1890 to 1947. The Summer Olympics in Tokyo Expo was planned as the anniversary events of 1940 Koki at the time. Okay, and then you can see the 4 stamps, which talk about the sacred golden kite, the Mount Takachiho, and Ainu fish and sake, which are all part of Japanese life, and Kashiwara shrine. You can see the roof of all the shrines resembling the top of the Isejingu. Now, the golden kite is supposed to, this is again 260th year of the Japanese imperial calendar. The golden kite, which you see, is the messenger of Kami described in the ancient Japanese chronicle of Nihon Shoki when Emperor Jimmu defeated his enemies in the battle. Mount Takachiho mine, 1,574 meters, is connected to the legend in Japanese folklore called Tensen Korin, telling of the descent of the sun goddess grandson, Ningino Mikato, from the heavens to Takachiho summit. According to one version of the myth, the young deity descended above Takachiho mine and drove his 3-pronged spear into the ground. To this day, large bronze spear can be found at the peak, and it is said to be his sport. And it is not the only story that makes the peak famous. However, a renowned samurai named Sakamoto Ryoma, 1836 to 1867, visited the volcano in the mid of 19th century with his wife on a trip that considered to be Japan's first honeymoon. Ayu is an edible fish, mostly consumed in East Asia. Its fish is a distinctive sweet flavor with melon and cucumber aroma. It is consequently highly priced food fish. The main methods of obtaining ayu is by means of the fly fishing, by using fish trap and fishing with a decoy, which is known as the Ainu no Tomozuri in Japan. The decoy is a living Ainu placed in the hook, which swims when immersed into water. It provokes the territorial behavior of the Ainu, which assault the intruder and they get caught. The Kashiwamara shrine, or Kashihara Jingu, is a Shinto shrine located in the city of Kashihara in Nara Prefecture, Japan. The shrine was built on 2nd April 1890 at the site of Kashihara-gu, where Japan's first emperor, Emperor Jimmu, is said to have ascended to the throne on 11th February 1660 BCE. Next is the 50th anniversary of the Imperial Rescript in Education. The Imperial Rescript on Education was signed by the Emperor Meiji on October 1890. The two stamps which you see on the right-hand side, the violet 2 cent and green 4 cent, were released in 1940, October 25th. To commemorate this, it was distributed to every school in the Japanese Empire, along with a portrait of the emperor. The rescript pushed traditional ideas of Confucianism and many ways have contributed to the rise of militarism during the 1930 and 1940. Now, 70th anniversary of the first national railway. On September 12th, 1872, the first railway between Shimbashi, later Shiodome is called Shiodome, and Yokohama, present Sakuragicho, opened. The date is Tempo calendar, October 14th in present Gregorian calendar. The one-way trip took 53 minutes in comparison to 40 minutes for a modern electric train. And it is, of course, a steam locomotive. The service started with 9 round trips daily. There's a beautiful steam locomotive that you see there. It was released in 1942, October 14, 30 by 26 millimeter, monocolor. Then the first anniversary of Greater East Asia War in the Pacific. The Pacific War, sometimes called as the Asia-Pacific War, was the theater of the World War II and was fought in Asia, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and Oceania. It was geographically the largest theater of war, including the vast Pacific Ocean Theater and Southwest Pacific Theater, and the Second Chino-Japanese War, and the Soviet-Japanese Russo-Japanese War. Widely accepted that the Pacific War itself began on 7th December or 8th December Japanese time in 1941, when Japanese invaded Thailand, attacked the British colonies in Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, as well as the United States military and naval base in Hawaii, Auckland, Guam, and Philippines. This stamp was released in 1942, December 8th, 30 by 26 millimeter. It's a red brown stamp. And you can see because the war has started, it's got 2 plus 1, 3 Japanese sen, but the 1 plus 1 goes for the efforts of the war. So it's an addition that they have people pay when they buy the stamp. The first anniversary of Greater East Asia War in the Pacific area. The attack on Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a surprise military strike by Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service upon the United States against the naval base at Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, territory of Hawaii, just before 8 a.m. on Sunday, thus December 7, 1944. The United States was a neutral country at that time. The attack led to its formal entry into the World War II. And the next day, the Japanese military leadership referred to the attack as the Hawaii Operations and Operation AI and Operation Z during its planning. This stamp was released in 1942, December 8th. It's a monocolor stamp again, and again it is a A+2 Japanese cent stamp. Then 75th anniversary of Japanese Postal Services, the souvenir sheet consisting of 4 stamps for the face value of 3 yen. They showed Baron Maejima, considered to be as the father of Japanese postal system. Medieval postman bill, that is, you have on the left hand side, you can see the bell. That's a stamp in 15 cent orange, white wove, unwater marked paper, perforated 12.5 by 12.5, engraved printing, was a tool to inform the mailman's arrival and departure from the pre-designated place of mail delivery and pickup. Stamp was released in 1946, this souvenir sheet. So it's a souvenir sheet. So it's of a bigger size, 183 by 125 millimeter. There are all the 4 stamps in blue, dark green, orange, and red. And it costs 3 yen. So from yen, this is the first time you see the Japanese yen coming from sen. Okay. The stamp in red shows the first known Dragon series stamp. Dragon series stamp was 1871, the first stamp that was released. There were 4 in different colors. So the red color has been used here and it is taken there. The blue stamp shows the various communication symbols from the early days of dhows. That is where everybody started communicating using the dhow. Signal flags and modern light communication towers. Then the stamp shows Mayajima, the father of Japanese Post, in full-length figure from one of his statues commemorating a service setting up of the Japanese Postal Service. So the stamp details are given on the sides of the stamp. Now, the 75th anniversary of the railway services in Japan. The entire Japan is covered by an extensive network of railways. About 30% of the rail transport in Japan is owned by private railway companies, while the remaining 70% operated by owned and by Japan Railways, which is privatized in 1987. The first railway route in Japan was opened between Shimbashi, which is now Shiodame, and Yokohama, Sakurangicho in Yokohama, on the 14th October 1872 by the Nippon Railway Company, founded in 1881, was the country's first railway company. Stamp was released. This is a souvenir sheet like. In 1974, October 14, the souvenir sheet is 115 by 72 millimeter, and it's a single color blue. And it is printed by Reese's and without any gum. And 25th anniversary of Japan's horse racing law enforcement. Modern horse racing in Japan had its beginning in racing events that were organized by the foreign residents in Yokohama 1862 and 1861 when Japan was about to move from the feudal system into the Meiji Restoration. Foreign residents living in Yokohama, predominantly the British, introduced the first Western style horse racing by establishing a Yokohama Race Club in Japan. In 1923, horse racing legislation, so greatly desired by the horse racing industry, was enacted, which led to the formation of 11 racing clubs of horse racing, which were accompanied by legal sale of betting tickets that was established. And shortly after that, the Imperial Racing Society was established as a horse racing authority by the 11 Horsing Club and was responsible for the rules of racing when served, a model for the rules of individual racing clubs. The horse racing law underwent a major revision in 1936. You can see the stamp, horse racing stamp, another stamp with a small stud, which has got a caricature of a horse. So horse has been a part of Japanese life for a very, very long time. And this stamp was released in 1948 and June 6th. Horse racing, uh, though horse racing is in many countries, Japan is one where horse racing has been very strictly governed by the clubs to avoid any cheating and betting and other things. So there's a well regulated laws. The 25th anniversary of Japan's horse racing law was commemorated in 1948 with a 30 by 26 millimeter brown single color stamp with additional stud stamp also. Then, 10th anniversary of alcohol monopoly law. In 1937, Second Sino-Japanese War broke out. In Japan, wartime provisions were invoked, and many industries became tightly regulated and controlled by the economic policies. The Alcohol Monopoly Act became a law at the same year, That is in 1948 or 1937, but the stamp was released in 1948, same year, and the government began to contract the manufacture of alcohol products to private business. Okay. And the Takara Shujo company received several of the contracts and began manufacturing alcohol, fuel at facilities different places. Takara Shujo, when transferred the operation of Kizaki plant to Towa for use for the manufacture of alcohol fuel. Japan also brought an alcohol monopoly law to Manchukuo. Manchukuo was Chinese territory which Japan occupied because it won the Sino-Japanese War under the Imperial Ordinance 454 on December 13, 1937, with 22 articles, which is seen in Government Gazette 1112. This stamp shows the alcohol refinery, and the thing is, it's released in 1948, September 14, with a 26 by 30 millimeter stamp, and it's a sort of a single color bistre brown, and it's a 5N stamp. And you will be, it'll be interesting for you to note the 5 is written with 5 followed by 2 zeros with an underline. So don't mistake it for a 500. It's a 5N stamp. Then we have an 8N stamp, again 8 followed by 2 zeros. The meteorological 75th anniversary of the Central Meteorological Observatory in 1949. Meteorological Service of Japan were initiated in 1875 by the Tokyo Meteorological Observatory, TMO, part of the Ministry of the Interior. And TMO was renamed as a Central Meteorological Observatory, CMO, in 1887 and was transferred to become a part of the Ministry of Education in 1895. In 1956, CMO became an affiliated agency of the Ministry of Transport, MOT, under the name of the Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA. And January 2001, MOT was reorganized into Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, MLIT. JMA now serves as the most advanced leading national meteorological services in the world, assuming both national and international responsibilities. And this time, a single color was released 1941, June 1st, 26 by 30 millimeters, a green single color stamp commemorating this 75th anniversary with a comb of 12 and printed with recess printing and with the ordinary gum, and 18N is the thing. Again, 18 has written as 8 N, I'm sorry, 8 followed by 2 zeros, 8N stamp. Then the 4th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima. The United States detonated 2 atomic bombs over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on the 6th and 9th August 1945, respectively. The 2 bombing killed about between 129,000 to 226,000 people, most of whom were civilians, and remain the only use of nuclear weapon in an armed conflict. Hiroshima was the primary target of the first atomic bombing mission on 6th August, with Kokura and Nagasaki as alternative targets. The 393 Bombardment Squadron of B-29 Enola Gay, named after Tibbet's mother, was piloted by pilot Tibbet. So he always regretted his doing that much later in life. In 8:15 Hiroshima time, the bombing went as planned. The little boy, containing about 64 kilos of the uranium 235, took 44.4 seconds to fall from aircraft, and world remembers they still. This brown color stamp was issued on 1949, August 6th. The thing, 1949, 42 by 26 millimeter stamp, single color, and with ordinary gum, photogravure printing, comb 13 by 13 and a half, and 800, that is 8N stamp. And the peace doves flying in a green color, that is the 4th anniversary of the bombarding of Nagasaki. On the morning of 9th August 1945, boxcar lifted off from Chinian Island with the Fat Man with Kokura as the primary target and Nagasaki as the secondary target. At 11:01 Japanese time, the last minute, a break in clouds over Nagasaki allowed boxcar's bombardier Captain Kermit Bohan to visually sight the target as ordered. The Fat Man weapon, containing a core of about 5 kilos, that is 11 pounds of plutonium, was dropped over the city's industrial valley. Peace memorials were built at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, standing as examples of the dangers of atomic bomb in the world. And in both the places, on these days, in August 6th and 9th, peace memorial services are being held even today. And what you call as Hibakusha, people who are affected by the atomic bomb still who are alive, with all the scars of atomic bombing. They are called as Hibakushas. They are still going through the sufferings of this bombing. Then the first National Boy Scouts Jamboree in 1949. The Nippon Scout Jamboree is a scouting jamboree held by the Scouts Association of Japan, the largest scouting event in Japan. Scout was added to the name beginning in 2012, and jamborees were held once in every 4 years and are abbreviated as NJ, are including number of events. As for example, 14 NJ is a 14 Nippon Jamboree. The first post-war all-Japan camp was held to celebrate the reorganization of Boy Scouts of Japan, was held in September 24-25, 1949 in Tokyo. The second all-Japan Campuri, that is Jamboree and Camp, All Japan Campuri, was held in August 18 to 20, 1950. All Japan Campuri was held in August 14-6 in 1951 again. Beginning of the fourth All Nippon Campuri, the name was changed to Nippon Jamboree. Okay, that's scouts. Still, you can see a lot of young boys and girls going around with the scouts uniform in the trains and everything. Scouting is a great movement in Japan. Then 75th anniversary of Universal Postal Union UPU. The Universal Postal Union, established by the Treaty of Bern in 1874, is a specialized agency of the United Nations UN that coordinates postal policies among the member nations in addition to worldwide postal system. Japan joined the Universal Postal Union UPU in 1877, both to force Britain to close its post office in Japan and to participate in international administrative unions such as UPU. And you can see there were 4 monocolor stamps that were released. The stamps were issued on 1949 August 18, and there was also a souvenir sheet that was issued to commemorate this 75th anniversary. Then 50th anniversary of Misuzawa Latitude Observatory. Misuzawa, one of the cities located in Iwate Prefecture, Japan. It is currently part of the city of Oshu. Misuzawa is the home of one of the 6 international latitude observatories. The observatories were close to the parallel of 30 degrees 8 minutes north latitude. They work together to study the Earth's wobbly using stars selected by Dr. Kimura, an astronomer in charge of the Misuzawa station. 12 groups of stars, there are 6 pairs of stars each were chosen, and 2 groups of stars were observed at each station following scheduled dates, time, and duration prepared by Kimura. The lab was established in 1899, and this 50th anniversary stamp was released in 1949, October 30th, 26 by 30 millimeters, and it's a 8 yen stamp with a comb of jewel, and this commemorative stamp was printed by Photogravure Printing. The 25th anniversary of broadcasting in Japan. Radio broadcasting Japan started in 1925 in Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya. Broadcasting service was not profit oriented, but was run by the Public Service Corporation, strongly oriented towards public interest and funded with Japanese reception fees paid by the radio listeners. At the start of broadcast services, the newspapers and other publications were under government censorship. Broadcast operation was also then supervised by the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunication. Later, radio broadcast became deeply involved in the Japan's military uh, uh, war and other aggressive, where Japan was also threatened by the Allied forces. And then 1950, March 22nd was the day this stamp of 8N was released. It's a commemorative stamp, single color, and 8Ns. The 80th anniversary of the Japanese Postal Service. You can see Mayajima and the Postman's Bill. Both are here in the souvenir sheet. 1951, April 14th, this was released. The souvenir sheet, so 86 by 65 millimeters, and recess printed, comb 13 by 13 and a half, and it's a souvenir sheet, 4 yen value. And Baron Mayajima Isoka, founder of the Japanese postal system, who is known as the father of Japanese postal system, established in postal service in Japan in 1875. He is there in the thing. And a commemorative souvenir sheet was issued in 1951 to commemorate 80 years of establishing a Japanese postal system. Now, UPU, Universal Postal Union membership, 75th anniversary. Two stamps commemorating the 75th anniversary of Japan membership, the Universal Postal Union. UPU depict most distinctive star patterns, both the southern and northern hemisphere. You can see the stars in the both stamps, the violet and the gray stamps, both. One is a 5N, one is a 10N. The 5N stamp shows the idealist Southern Cross. Southern Cross name of the stamp. Above the davits of the ship representing a female, while the 10 yen stamp with the 7 stars of fills the sky over the northern hemisphere of the air, with Japan itself at the lower left. You can see that. So these are the two stamps which were used for 75th anniversary of UPU membership. 75th anniversary of the Japanese Red Cross, postcard featuring color illustration of the bust of the portrait of the Japanese Red Cross nurse. She was wearing the dark blue jacket and the Red Cross armband. You can see in both the thing there are two stamps of her. I mean, one stamp and one first day postcard, in which the same stamp is there with the first day cancellation. There is a black and white postal stamp, which is the same picture under the color portrait. The postcard was recreated from the stamp, which has been issued to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Japanese Red Cross Society on May 1st, 1952. May 1st, 1952 was the date, 26 by 36 millimeter. Two stamps that you see them, scarlet and gray stamps, and okay, and then please note that the tree is not followed. Now this is the first time the 3 stamp. The 3 is not followed by 00. It was done in the earlier stamp, and since that year, the stamp issued in February 1952 onwards, the Japanese yen was written only as an Arabic numeral without the 00. Then 75th anniversary of the founding of the Tokyo University. That's the Tokyo University, the building that you see. The University of Tokyo, abbreviated Todai or U Tokyo, is a public research university located in Bunkyoku, Tokyo, Japan. Established in 1877, the university is the first imperial university and currently selected as a top university of the top global university project by the Japanese government. Todai also means in Japanese lighthouse, maybe a lighthouse of learning. Okay. Then we have the this stamp was issued in 1952, October 1st, and 26 by 30, which is a standard size, and recess printing. Then 75th anniversary of the electric lamp in Japan. On February 1879, Edison had built the first incandescent electric bulb and used a thin platinum filament made the glass vacuum bulb. Unlike cotton or wooden filament, platinum melted slowly. Most of these bulbs were reproduced of the wound filament bulbs uh, and made popular by the Edison Electric Light Company at the turn of the 20th century. They are easily identified as a long and complicated windings of their internal filaments with a very warm glow and yellow color glow of the light they produced. And then you can see the stamp here, a 10N stamp, brown in color, and the light you can see there. Again, it's a photograph you printed thing, 26 by 30 millimeter stamp. Then 75th anniversary of the Tokyo Observatory, the 1988 Showa 66, the Tokyo Astronomical Observatory was reorganized into National Astronomical Observatory in Japan, together with the Latitude Observatory of Mizuzawa and other observatories. For a time, the observatory was under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Education, Science, Sports and Culture, the Ministry of Education, which was reorganized to be the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports and Sciences, and in a short form, it's called as MEXT, MEXT. They also offer good scholarship. MEXT offering good scholarships for people who want to come and study in Japan. Finally, the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, NAOJ, was incorporated as the Inter-University Research Institute of Cooperation, National Institute of National Sciences, National Astronomical Observatory of Japan on April 1st, 2004. The stamp was released in 1953, 10th month, October 29th, and it's a 30 by 26 thing. It's a 10N stamp, commemorative photogravure printing. Then we have the 75th anniversary of Japan membership into ITU, which is nothing other than International Telecommunication Union. Originally, International Telegraph Union is a specialized agency of the United Nations that is responsible for the issues that concern information and communication technologies. Japan has been a member of ITU from its early days, having joined the Union in 1879. The country has a long been a global source of innovation and leader in important emerging areas of HU world, from space to artificial intelligence to 5G. These two stamps, monocolor again, were released in 1954, October 13th, 26 by 30 millimeters. It's one is a gray blue, other one is a brown stamp that you can see, 13 and a half. One is a 5N, other one is a 10N stamp. Then you see the 500th anniversary of Tokyo. As a large stamp, 44 by 26 millimeter, and a single color, which is in purple, which we call dull purple. It's not a very bright purple. And its comb is 13 by 13 and a half. resource printing 10 yen. And then Tokyo was originally a village called Edo, when what was formerly a part of the Musashi province. Edo was first fortified by the Edo clan and in the later 12th century. In 1457, Oda Doken built Edo Castle. In 1950, Tokugawa Ieyasu moved from Mikawa province, its lifelong base, to the Kanto region. When he became a shogun in 1603, Edo became the center of his ruling. During the subsequent Edo period, Edo grew into one of the largest cities in the world, with the population topping 1 million by the 18th century, not now. Now it's more. Okay, and especially number of people per square meter of Tokyo is more than many say cities. But Edo is still the home of Tokugawa shogunate and not the capital of Japan to start with. Okay, and then later on it became the capital of Japan. So it's 10 yen stamp. Then we have the 15th Congress of IOC, which is the International Chamber of Commerce, and the institute is representative of more than 45 million companies or 100 countries, with a mission to make business work for everyone, every day, everywhere. Okay, you can see the business must become successful. So they have put koi, a fish that can go upstream against a very fast current also. So business has to go against all odds. They should become winners. So that's why it is there. Now, kindly look at that fish. The same fish is the one in the month of May for the boys' festival. They use it as a koinobori. The 1,200 businessmen from 42 countries open World Chamber meeting in Tokyo. World Chamber of Meeting in Tokyo on the May 16, 1955. So this stamp was released on May 16, 1955 to commemorate that 15th Congress event. And it's a 36 by 28 millimeters. For the first time you can see a multicolor stamp commemorative. In this, and I say for the first time, I'm talking about in the commemorative events. And then a comb of 13 by 13 and a half photography printing. And you can also see the first day cover with the first day cancellation here. Then the first anniversary of Japan's admission into UNO. Tokyo was originally a village called Edo. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. This stamp was issued in 1957 with the commemorating the first. Sorry, the same thing has come back again. 1957, March 8, because it entered in 1956 in the United Nations Organization. It's 36 by 26 millimeter stamp with the research printing. Okay. The International Geophysical Year 1957. The origin of the International Geophysical Year can be traced to the International Polar Years held in 1882-1883, then 1932-1933, and recently from March 2007 to March 2009. You can see the picture with which is the thing was released with the king penguin standing there and the research ship going around the polar region. And this stamp was released in 1957, 26 by 30 millimeters, and it's a commemorative stamp with research printing. And on 5th April 1950, several top scientists met and discussed, suggested that the time was ripe to have a worldwide geophysical year instead of a polar year, considering the recent advances in rocketry, radar, and computing. It is proposed that to the International Council of Scientific Unions that an international geophysical here IGY, be planned for the 1957-58, coinciding with the period of maximum solar activity. The 100th anniversary of the opening of the ports to trade. The Treaty of the Yedo, 1958. You can see the spelling at the time. Yedo was Oedu, provided for several Japanese ports to be opened for trade in Nagasaki, Hakodate, Kanagawa, Yokohama from 1959, Niigata 1860, and Osaka and Hyogo Kobe in 1863. Later, they were delayed to 1868. British subjects were given the right to reside in Japanese ports, to lease ground, and to purchase buildings. You can see the ships at the port at the back, 1958 stamp, released on May 10th, and 30 by 26 millimeter, multicolor stamp, commemorative stamp, and it's a 10 yen ordinary gum stamp. Sorry. Okay. The 10th anniversary of Japanese iron industry. Historically, iron was a it's a great industry in Japan because of the Japanese sword making. You all know the tantara, the Japanese furnaces, the artisans who make this beautiful samurai warlords, the what do you call it? The swords, the war swords, which used to have very intricate uh, this thing on the blade, the sharpening of the blade, all that was there. It's a mark of Japanese monozukuri with steel in earlier years. The 100th years of Japanese war iron industry historically was celebrated, commemorated with this. Historically, iron was produced in Japan by a small-scale iron making method called Tatara process. Tatara is nothing other than a blast furnace in a small thing. And once the Tatara is started, it cannot be shut down. So actually, the marksman, the what you call as shokunin, the artisan, he has to keep awake for 3 consecutive days and nights, along with Tatara, when the blade is, the metal is melted there. So that's a dedication commitment in the iron industry that is needed. Use of the blast furnace process began in December 1, 1857, following the construction of the western style blast furnace in Kameishi by T. Oshima. In commemoration with this event, December 1st was designated as the Iron Memorial Day in 1858. The Japan Post released a stamp on December 1st, 1957, commemorating the centenary use of the Western style blast furnace. Till then, the Japanese blast furnace called Tatara was being used. Then this stamp was released on 1957, December 1st. It's a 36 by 26 millimeter orange and purple stamp, commemorative, recess printing 10 N. You can see a first day postcard on the right hand side. The opening of Khammon Universe undersea roadway tunnel. The Khammon Tunnel is an under tunnel connecting the Khammon Straits between Shimonoseki, Yamaguchi, and Kitakyushu, Fukuoka in western Japan. When opened in 1948, the railway tunnel provided the first direct link between Honshu and Kyushu, two of Japan's 4 main islands. Today, all the islands of Japan are connected either by tunnels or bridges, in which even the world famous Shinkansen runs from one end of the island to the other end. It's a beautiful network. The Shinkansen connects from Kyushu to Honshu, and then they also will be connecting Shikoku because there is provision for the the Shinkansen run on the steel bridge that they have made, and then it is also connected to Hokkaido. An open 1942 railway tunnel provided the first direct link between Honshu and Kyushu, two of Japan's four major main islands. The Kamon Roadway Tunnel carries National Route 2 under the Kamon Strait. It opened in March 1952. The Japanese anniversary of the Japanese emigration to Brazil. Japanese immigration to Brazil officially began June 18, 1902, when the ship Kasato Maru arrived in San Paulo, bringing 781 farmers to the country of San Paulo. The flows of people ceased almost entirely in the late 1950, with nearly 2 lakh Japanese settled in that country. This stamp was released in 1958. You can see the picture of Kasato Maru, which carried these people in the thing. And 1958, June 18, the stamp was released. The 12th International Congress for the Bird Preservation, IUCN, was established in 1948. It was initially called as the International Union for the Protection of Nature and Natural Resources. IUCN was established in October 1948 in Fontainebleau, France, when representative governments and conservation organizations, spurred by the UNESCO, signed a formal act constituting the International Union for the Protection of Nature, IUPN, and the initiative to set up a new organization that came under UNESCO, especially from the Director General, the British biologist called Julian Huxley. At the time of founding IUCN, the only international organization focusing on the entire specimen of natural conservation, an international organization for the protection of birds, what you call now BirdLife International, had been established in 1922. This 10-year stamp was released 1960, May 24, 26 by 30, to commemorate the 12th International Congress of the Bird Preservation. Then the Japanese Society for Preservation of Birds, sometimes the Japanese Association for Preservation of Birds, was founded in 1947, incorporating 10 years later and becoming the Public Interest Corporation, Public Interest Incorporated Foundation in 2012. The society's purpose is to protect wildlife, primarily birds, to promote the conservation and to contribute the preservation of biodiversity. The 12th International Congress of Bird Preservation was held in 1960. Therefore, the commemorative step. You can also see the Mihon, which is a sample Mihon stamp of 10 on the right hand side, then 20 by 36 millimeter stamps. Then the 100th University of Keio University, another very popular and very famous university, Keio University. We have also seen about the founder of the Keio University when we talked about the cultural leaders of Japan. Keio University traces its beginning to the original Keio Gijuku, the institution of Western learning, unlike any other in Japan, in its time. Founder Yukichi Fukuzawa, we have talked about him earlier, 1935-1901, was a man of uncommon courage, vision, wisdom, who defied the established powers of the time and persuaded knowledge, and his conviction and deeds made an indelible mark in the country that would barely more than a century later become the second largest economic power in the free world. Since its founding in 1858, the history of Keio University parallels the history of Japan's modern era. The vision and clarity of the founder, Fukuzawa, original teachings are held up well for nearly a century. You can see this stamp that was released on 1958, November 8, single color. And then this was released without any watermark. It's a 10-year stamp. The 10th anniversary of Declaration of Human Rights. In commemoration of the 10th anniversary of United Nations Declaration of Human Rights and Education and Training, OHCHR organized a panel discussion in 48th session in the Human Rights Council as a space to discuss current issues related to human rights education and training. At that time, the stamp was released 1958, December 10. The stamp, you can see, is a multicolor stamp, and it's valued as 10 cents. The information sheet, which carries the stamp and the cancellation, is also shown here. And Asian Cultural Conference in Tokyo, Asian Cultural commemorative 2500th anniversary of the death of Buddha. It's the Asian Cultural Conference in Tokyo. The Buddhists, particularly in South Asia, celebrating the birth and enlightenment and the death of the Buddha on May 24th, the day of full moon in May. And for 2500 anniversary special festivals, ceremonies continued for one full year. As the birthplace of Buddhism, India has made elaborate arrangements for historical event at the great historical centers of Buddhism in villages Lumbini outside Kapilavastu, now which is in Nepal, where Buddha was born. Buddha Gaya, where he achieved enlightenment, Sarnath, where he practiced first sermon, and Kusingar, based special ceremonies, and Tokyo organized Asian commemorative 2500 years. The stamp shows the region in which this 2500 years of Buddha's uh, contribution to the society has taken place, and the stamp was released in 1959, March 27th. The 350th anniversary of Nagoya in 1959. In 1610, the world in the world of in the warlord Tokugawa Ieyasu, a region of Oda Nobunaga, moved the capital to Owari province, Kyosu to Nagoya. The period saw the renovation of Nagoya Castle. The arrival of the 20th century brought convergence of the economic feature factors and fueled rapid growth in Nagoya. During the Meiji Restoration, it became the major industrial hub of Nagoya. So, the 350 years anniversary of Nagoya in 1959 was celebrated with a beautiful stamp, the golden fish that sits on the top of the Nagoya castle. Okay, it has got it's a golden fish. The face looks like a lion's face. It's a combination of that. It is sitting on top of the Nagoya castle. It's a very well-known map. Thank you for joining me this week. It's a very interesting thing to talk about the events and anniversary of Japan. Japan has so many events, so many anniversaries. So this is only the part one of that. We have 7 parts covering till 2022. You will be able to see. And this is a great event again, Sanja Matsuri. Every year this Matsuri takes place in Tokyo, in Asakusa Temple. And the bird that is sitting on top of the palanquin that is being carried is called the mystic phoenix of Japan. Ogo, I think that's the name. And this is a very great festival. I had the opportunity to go at that time, and this picture